Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another broadcast of The Weekly with me, Neff. Please subscribe to the channel. Share this video with a couple of family members, friends, and colleagues. I appreciate the support most definitely. So, watched Keeper this past weekend, a little late on the review. Sorry about that, but let's get into it. We'll make it as swift as possible. So, Keeper stars Tatiana Maslany. You may have seen her from some other projects. We have Roosevelt Sutherland, and it's shot by Osgood Perkins and written by Nick Leopard, right? I want to say the film runs about an hour and 40 minutes, so not too long of a film. I felt the pacing was pretty solid for the film, though. It didn't feel like it took forever to get to the conclusion or the end of the film, but also it didn't feel like there was that many lulls either. I feel like there was a lot of auteur aspects regarding this film, especially in how Osgood Perkins approached shooting this film frame by frame. I do like the art film aspect of it, right? There's a little more freedom, less restrictive, a little less by the book, and I thought it was really good for this film. I think it adds to the intensity and tone of the film, so I thought that was executed pretty well. I thought the acting was believable and executed as well. Roosevelt Sutherland, I haven't seen him before, I don't think, in any film. I have seen Tatiana Maslany, but not in any live action projects. I've only seen clips of her in certain projects, but I have not seen a film with just her as the centerpiece at all. So I didn't think she was bad in this film, to be quite honest. Everybody might have their opinion regarding that. I did reference the Rotten Tomatoes scores and IMDb score for this film. I talked about how the film opened up at about a 64 or 65% and then started to drop right into the 50s. And then when we got the popcorn meter from the fans there, right, it seemed like the score was even worse, probably something in the 40s. Now, I have to say, before I give you the score for this film is not as bad as people have let it to be honest. And there was more than a few things that I liked about the film, which I just talked about right now. I thought the tone was done well. I thought the tone carries out throughout the film consistently. I would say if I had to compare this film, especially to another Neon Pictures film that came out earlier that I saw, which was titled Together, right? I say this film is in the same vein as that or A24's Bring Her Back, around the same realm. But personally, I like this film slightly more than both of those films because it's consistent throughout. So with Together, I thought the beginning and middle of the film was pretty decent and strong, and then it fell off towards the end. With Bring Her Back, I thought the beginning was pretty weak, and then it got better as the film progressed towards the end of the film. With this film, like I said, consistently all the way through as far as delivering the intensity, the tone, and the message of the film. There were a couple twists in the film that I thought were good, and one thing that I really pointed out to a couple people that I watched the film with was, I think this film is rated R, but it could have been PG-13. Wasn't really any gore. The cursing was extremely limited. Not a lot of blood, really. There was some violence, but nothing too crazy. It wasn't too sexual. And I think this would be a film that, if you're not super into the jump scares, too much of the paranormal aspects or blood and gore, I think this is a film for you that you can enjoy, especially if you like PG-13 horror films and rated R horror films. Typically, when you get a PG-13 slapped on a horror film, you know they're not taking it that far, right? And so it kind of takes you out of the element of horror, but I thought this was good. If I had to categorize this film, I'd call it a suspense thriller film. I thought the story was pretty decent, not the best story of all time, but like I said, it lends itself to a pretty solid twist in the end, and it's not one of those twists that you can't see coming. I'm not going to say the film is super predictable, but the film is a little different than what I anticipated from the trailer that I saw, and I believe I only saw about 2 trailers for this. There was a trailer where you don't really see anything but Tatiana writing on a piece of paper, she's drawing, and then obviously you had that first trailer that came out, right? And then you had a couple more promo trailers released. So I only saw really 2 trailers for the film. The first time I saw the first trailer was in theater, and that was like an exclusive trailer, and then obviously they released that on YouTube. But I definitely kept the trailers limited for this film, and I think it did help me when going in to watch this film overall. In my opinion, the film did what it needed to do. Didn't quite hit that 7 that I wanted it to hit, but overall, a decent film overall. So if I had to categorize Keeper, I would say watch it in theater if you like suspense thriller films. If you're not so into suspense thriller films, or you don't want to go to the theater that much, then definitely stream it. I would categorize it as a strong stream, and I do think people will like this film if they give it a chance. If I have to score Keeper, I would give it a 67.5 out of 10, so slightly above Together and slightly above Bring Her Back. I gave both of those 67s. As I said, pretty even with those films, but for the reasons I didn't like those films, I like this film. And so with that being said, that is my review for Keeper. I thought I kept it pretty clean there, pretty to the point. Like I said, I don't want to give away too much. There are some solid twists in this film, and I do say people should go watch this film at least once in theater. Twice, I'm not going to say it's twice, but at least once. It's a decent little horror suspense thriller film with some solid twists, some good acting, great tone, score is pretty good. There are some jump scares in there, and overall, just a decent project put together, an original project as well. I'd say if I'm looking at Osgood Perkins' filmography, I'd say this is his second best film. Longlegs, number one, this would be number two, and then The Monkey, number three. And so with that being said, let me know if you watched Keeper this weekend. I want to hear your thoughts on Keeper, what you thought about the story, the twist, the acting, all of it. Please comment down below your thoughts if you liked this review. Like I said, if you saw the film, also subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and share this video. I definitely appreciate it. Ring that bell for notifications to stay updated, and be safe. It's Neff signing off.